Welcome to part 5 of our course about how to program a dynamic component. And here in our case, as a sample, a cabinet with the possibility to open or close the door. How you create that open or close the door and how to create the cabinet himself is something that I explained in the previous versions of this series course. Now we're gonna put 4 shelves inside that cabinet, and these shelves should be at a distance who is equal to the total height divide through a number of shelves. We use the bottom side of the inside of the cabinet to know how big the shelf should be. By example, that size. If this is the shelf, well, we give it a height of a thickness. Thickness is 2, by example. Make a component of this shelf. So 1, 2, 3. Make component shelf. Voila. And then create. And now we have the first one. Now to divide, to know how much distance you have to have between 4 shelves for this height, we have to put this shelf inside that component. Now for this moment I created that shelf outside that component. So this here is the component and this is the shelf. So I cut this one away. I go inside the component, double click, and now I choose for paste in place, so the shelf is pasted on the same place as where I have cut it. Now it is inside the shelf, so I can see here via component attributes. That's a sort of bug inside the program that sometimes it doesn't show all these attributes, and then you have to leave the SketchUp and to start it again. But here in our case it was enough to click outside and then again inside, so he shows now all the attributes about this component. This is the list of components. That was the door from previous course. This one now is about the shelf. We create everything about the size of that shelf. That's a bug also, you know. I have clicked on everything about size and it doesn't show. I should have the same now for position. Look, voila, it doesn't show you anything about position also, and still it is here not to see in this list here. Yeah, to make everything fine again, you have to save your drawing, save as or save, and then quit your SketchUp and start up again. So I start again. So there he is again. So I click. Yeah, he's starting my extensions. Come on, man. Voilà. Now I go to attribute list of component attribute list. Here, about shelf, so everything about size, click, and now it is there. So that was a bug. Now, thickness. The thickness of the shelf should be 2 and never anything else than 2. So I change it in equal to, and it will stay 2 all the time. Here, in that case, this is the width of the cabinet. So I have to have here a reference to width. Yeah, W, for example, and I can make a link to W here. So now he has everything that the user will give in via a dialog box. This dialog box is this one, and if he changed, for example, this one here in 95, apply, it should be changing here and also here because it has a link to this one. Now, this is everything about width, so this have to be a link to this one. So click equal to this, and if I do that, you will see, look, this shelf is too long, because he now has the same width as the total width of that cabinet. So I have to subtract 2 times the thickness of this shelf here, this part. So I have to change this formula to equally this here, the total width, minus 4, minus 2 times the thickness. And now it is okay. This is the depth of the shelf, and I think this should be always be the same. By example, I say 35. Voilà, 35. Or maybe we can. No, maybe we can change that depending on how depth your cabinet will be. So it is here. Depth is equal. This depth is equal to this one. I put my glasses on. Voila. This one. And this depth is always equal to this depth minus, by example, 10. So it will be 40 for the moment. Everything. So this 40 is too long. By example, you will see it is sticking out here, and if I want to change that, if I want to change that, I have to change my formula here, because I want to have the depth of that shelf should be the total of the depth of that cabinet, subtract minus 10, and minus the thickness of this backside of that cabinet. So this formula should look like this. This 10 is okay, but also minus this thickness of the backside of that cabinet. So that's already one thing we have changed, but still the location is not yet okay. The location of this shelf should be a location depending on everything we put here as a location. So I will add all depending on location. The Z direction, this is this direction. That means that the starting point of this one should be here and not there. So this location about 2 centimeters, that's okay. So the 2 centimeters further. I will fix that to 2 centimeters by typing equal to 2. In the height, it will always start from this direction and not from this direction, this height, because this is 2 centimeters and this shelf is on top of the bottom one, so it will be always be 2, so equal to, and it will never change. And now we have the starting point of where this shelf will lay inside this cabinet, and this should be always be 10 centimeters, so equal to 10. Voila. And now it is okay. You see here, he's ending in front of the last part of that cabinet, the backside, and it is laying on top of the bottom shelf, bottom part. Now we have to have a formula to know how much of what the distance will be between the height of that cabinet. So number of shelves, we have to calculate the number of shelves. To make a sort of formula, I will put this formula inside everything about this shelf. I go and do that here by first make a reference to the height here. I don't have here that reference. I can do that directly also to that reference here via my formulas, but then you can't, it's less readable. You see, these formulas will be less readable if you use inside these formulas systematically a reference to the top part of that cabinet. I will do that in the simple way by taking over everything about height here. Height. height, and what I will have here from height is equal to what I put here as user. So now I know how much the height is. The height is 90 as it is written here. And to know how much shelves we will have, I know how much number of shelves, I will take, I make an attribute number shelves. You see, I have used here an underscore and not a minus sign. Only with an underscore you can use different words as a name for an attribute. Otherwise, he will give you an error code. Number of shelves will be 4, equal to 4. And I will have always 4, and the size between the shelves can change depending on the height we give on that cabinet. So here in that case, if we want to calculate what the height will be for each shell, for the size, the distance between the shells, we have to make a formula. Distance, to calculate the distance, it will be an equal sign and then the formula. The formula will be height divided by number of shells. To start, this is the starting formula for the distance between the shells. If we use 22.5 centimeter between the shelves, we will have an equal distance for each shelf between for the full height of the cabinet. So if we want to change this one shell and 4 shells automatically divided over the height, we have to do that via copy. We have to add here copy. In that list we have here copies, and number of copies is always 4 because this is here written. Yeah, we have decided we want to have 4 copies, so equal to this reference. That's the number of copies. So much copies we want. Now we can start with the formula. The copies will be placed on this formula because it is in the height that we have to divide the 4 copies. So here in this case we change this in this equal to, that is for the first, it's temporary here because it's not very much okay now, but I will change the formula afterwards. But first you will see what we are doing. We let grow our formula. We are starting with a simple explanation, and then we will make it more fine and more concrete to the reality. So this is the first the location where he is now. I know it's not the right place because the first one should be inside this one. We start with this, and this is then a formula where the next one, so plus the next one will be on this distance, and then over multiply by copy. Copy, enter, and now we have 4 shelves. You see, we have between each shell we have a distance who is the full height divided by 4, but because he is starting from that point, the last one is also in another. I should say it's not it's the full height, but changed, calculated for the starting from this point here and not from this one. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones because we have asked for 4 copies. Here, number of shelves is 4. Here copies is 4, and the original one was this one. So we have an original one and 4 copies. So that is wrong. This one here, it should be 3 because number of shelves is 4. So with number of copies is this number of shelves minus 1, and it's already changing now. Now the starting point of this one here should be this location and not there. So this one should be inside the bottom part of the cabinet. So we will change the location of this one first. This is here in that formula where we started from 2 centimeters, we can change that in 0. And now is my shelf, the bottom shelf is inside the cabinet, inside the bottom part of the cabinet, and I have 4 shelves equally divided over the full height. We can test this system by changing the height, by example 120, and now you see we have again 4 shelves. We can change it again in 60, and you see it always works very fine. Now this one here, a little secret, this one is inside our cabinet, our bottom part of the cabinet. If we don't want to have a part inside the bottom of the cabinet, we can make this one invisible. You can make this one invisible. So it is about a shelf. And in add attributes, you have an option here, a function called hidden, an attribute called hidden, and it is now false because every shelf is visible. If you change it in true, then is every part of these shelves invisible. So I have a sort of selection I want to make, and I want only the first one invisible and not the other ones. And this little secret is hidden here. We have an attribute already pre-programmed, but who is not inside this list, and this is simply copy. Not copies as we have here, but simply with copy. And if you type copy, you see the number 0.0. If you click with your selection to here, with this selection to this one, by example, double click, I am now inside my component and I am clicking on this shelf. Then I see that the copy is here 1, and this one is 2, and this is the third copy. There is no fourth copy. It's because we have asked for 3 copies, so there are 3. But this is what this is the first one, the second one is the third one. And this one is the 0 one. So if I want to have one of these shelves invisible, I can make a formula, I can change that formula, so if it is copy 0, it must be invisible, otherwise it has to be visible. We can change that like this. We go back to our attribute list, and I go to that, I go to hidden, and I change the false in a formula. So equal to if, brackets open, and now if copy is equal to 0, then it has to be true, because I want to have it invisible. If it is 0, I want to have it invisible. Otherwise, I want it false. Otherwise, false means let it see, it's not hidden. So brackets closed, enter, and now the one who was inside the bottom of my cabinet is invisible. And now I can play with my cabinet, so I can change it in height in 150, and it has 4 cabinets. You can change in your formulas, in your attribute list, if you want so. You can change the number of shelves, if you want to have it. You can add it here also. If you do it here, it will change, equal to, by example, 6. You have 6 shelves. If you want to have it as a possibility that the user can decide how many shelves he wants, well, you have to make a sort of small dialogue before a number shelves. Shall enter, and we ask the user how many shelves he wants. It's a number, decimal number. The user can edit as a text box. Number of shelves. Can, he doesn't want to change it. A number, voila. And now we want apply. Now the user can here put in the number of shelves he wants, by example 7. If I put 7 and click on apply, I have here number of shelves 7, and this one should have a reference to this. So I change this in equal to number of shelves here. And now I have 7. So I can test the situation by example 4 again. I click on apply, and I have 4 shelves and equally divided over the height of that cabinet. Now I think you know how to make a cabinet and how you can make a cabinet with a door that opens and closes. Same for the door. If you want to have a cabinet with a door or without door, we can do that also. Here, if you click, by example, door, click on door, and if you want to have, you want to ask the user if that door is visible or not visible. Well, it will be, by example, a number, and he can change it by user can edit as a text box. Door visible, visible, and it will be a number as a reaction. So, no, sorry, I made a mistake. This one here. The last option is an option that we didn't use yet. User can select from a list here. User can select from a list. Door is visible, and the first choice should be visible, and that is equal to 0, to 1, by example. Sorry, I will change it in 1. It doesn't make any difference, but it's I am used to. And not visible. It means invisible, so not visible. And this is 0. Not visible is 0, and visible is 1. Okay, apply, and now the user can choose between the door is visible or the door is not visible. Now the door is visible. So if I click on apply, you will see here is the 1 for visible. And not visible is 0. So now is the door visible. I go to the script of the attributes for door. And now I can see here our formulas for everything about the door, so he can change the location in graduation for the opening or closing the door. If I go to add attributes, I can choose for hidden. And now it is not hidden because it is false. Hidden is false. And we can change the formula here. You can change the formula by example, equal to if, brackets open, if this one here is equal to 1, then it is not, then it's false. It's not hidden, false. Otherwise it is true. Otherwise the door is invisible. Enter. And now we can, as user, decide if we want to see the door or not. If you click on not visible and click on apply, the door is gone and we have a simple cabinet. Same facilities as before, but and so on. And if we want to have the door again, visible, apply, and we can click on the door and it's open and close. So, if you have some questions about, you can mail me. My email address is johan@macinfo.be, and you can write me anyway. And if you have other questions also, I wish you a lot of success. Bye.